Hey there, Twins fans. My name is Seth Stows of Twins Daily, twinsdaily.com. Got the new City Connect cap. I just got that over the weekend, and I kind of like it. It's kind of growing on me a little bit, but the ripple effect, I don't know. It's all marketing and fun, and hopefully people have enjoyed that a little bit. Twins are playing well. Had a tough loss last night, but we're going to talk about baseball and life and the idea of never giving up on yourself, believing in yourself, all of that, with a former pro ball player, a former Minnesota Twin, who you are likely to have seen somewhere over the last couple of years, whether it's on his podcast or his website or his newsletter, or maybe you've even had a call with him. We'll see. But let's bring in, you don't want to hear me talk. Let's bring in the star of today's show, and that is Ian Miller, former member of the Bomba Squad.
That's right. Seth, what's going on, man? Thank you for having me here.
Happy to have you on. I mean, if you kind of look at the concept of your show and knowing who you are, that's how I got introduced to your podcast, things like that. I've known Zach Granite for a long time. I know you had him as a guest, and one of the short things, I think it was on TikTok or one of the reels or something, and it talked about him knowing himself as a ball player, and you knew what you were getting when you drafted me. Here's what I am. Don't make me something, and I want to be true to myself. That's how I kind of got to know you, and then you became a member of the playoff roster of the Bomba Squad. I mean, is that kind of a tale of two cities there for you?
Yeah, it's crazy. The whole kind of events leading into getting on the Bomba Squad. 2019 Minnesota Twins, man, was electric. If you flash back a couple months prior, probably 6-7 months prior, I can do math. Yeah, September. Man, in spring training 2019, 27 years old, oldest guy in minor league spring training. So you talk about persistence, resilience. I mean, I'm the oldest guy in minor league spring training after winning an Arizona Fall League ring, going to Mexico, showing out there, coming back, relating to the underdog story. So that year leading up to being able to debut with the Minnesota Twins, stick around for playoffs, pretty sick, man. Pretty sick. Insane amount of luck and good fortune. I think personally had to go into it, but that's kind of what the basis is around the 9-Hole podcast, dude. So you had seen the Zach Granite stuff, man. I looked up to a dude like that, tried to be like that guy. And we were always kind of neck and neck in terms of like how we played the game, how we went about our business, our skill set. And man, I just always try to be like that guy, man. So I appreciate it. Thank you for checking that stuff out.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned you guys kind of being tied together. I even looked as much as, you went to Wagner College in Staten Island. He's a Staten Island guy himself. Yeah. And and he was drafted about 8 spots or 10 spots in front of you in that 2013 draft, I believe, and in the 14th round. So I mean, that's just kind of a completely random thing there.
Yeah, and it's something that I was conscious about because I know that him and I are similar in skill sets, at least in that year 2013. So of course I had my eye on the draft ticker and stuff. See that Granite goes, I'm like, dude. Same type of skill set. Why aren't I going, around him or before him, right? You're always comparing in the game of baseball. It's kind of toxic. Maybe we'll get into it. Maybe we won't. But man, and then sure enough, I get picked right around the same time as him, man. So it's crazy how it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to go back. You grew up in the Philly area. Was baseball always your sport? Did you play the other sports, and was that kind of important to you as well?
Yeah, man. So I tried a whole bunch of sports. My old man actually played baseball. So he was a walk-on at UCLA. And then I played 2 years in the farm system for the Reds. Ended up, transitioning out of baseball, was a PhD. He taught medical school, man. So like coming up, baseball was kind of just always around. It was something that I did with my younger brother in the backyard. But yeah, dude, I dabbled in other sports. Like I was a little fast guy. So when I was with Minnesota in 2019 with the Cubs in 20, like I was just running around in the outfield, defensive replacement, pinch runner, you know what I mean? I was there in 2019 because Buxton, his shoulder was backed up, dude. So like, maybe he could slide into second base, maybe he couldn't. Maybe he could be a defensive replacement in the ninth inning, you know what I mean, in center field, or maybe he couldn't. So that's why I was there. And so like, I was a little fast guy in the big leagues. I was just a little fast guy when I was young. So playing football, dude, like I get broken in half if I go over the middle for a pass. You know what I mean, man? So like, I found my niche or whatever that word is, like pretty early. Like I was okay at baseball. You know, I could run fast and I couldn't really get hurt, dude. So yeah.
There you go. You know, talk a little bit about your high school days. I know one of the keys to your 9-hole podcast, to your story, is that you weren't heavily recruited. I mean, and I used the word on the toll ticker below, under recruited, but I mean, you were barely recruited, and some of that size and, you know, maturity and strength and all that comes with age. But talk a little bit about your high school career. Was it disappointing not to see maybe more people around? Did you go to the national or regional circuit, the, you know, area code games or any of that kind of stuff?
So in high school, man, like you said, I was just a 9-hitter, and I didn't play varsity until my junior year. So after my sophomore year, going into my junior year is kind of when I matured, right? So I started grew a couple inches in the off season. Over the summer, came back my junior year, and that's where I started on varsity. I played right field, batted ninth. Man, I didn't necessarily focus just on baseball until it was about senior year of high school. So that's when it was like, hey, dude, I'm okay at baseball. There could be a career here, more so than football. That's what I was also playing in high school, dude. So I focused on baseball my senior year, and that is the year that I played a travel ball team that traveled around, dude. We used wood bats. That was crazy. Got to go to like Cary, North Carolina, the perfect game, World Wood Bat in Florida. Got my ass kicked, you know, in front of scouts for the first time, right? Playing with people that were way bigger, way better than me, committed to colleges and stuff. And so that was my real first taste of it. I had opportunities to play well in front of coaches, and I didn't, man. I couldn't get the ball in the infield. I was just raw, you know, put the ball on the ground, be athletic and run. And so that might not be necessarily appealing to a lot of people, dude. I ended up going to a, what was it? It's called the Carpenter Cup. So in like Jersey, Delaware, and PA, it's like in your county. It's a travel team. So they take the best players from each county and they play each other. And so I got cut from that team my junior year. I made it my senior year. And so the Wagner College baseball coach was at this game. And so I got to play in one game for the Carpenter Cup. We got killed and we got eliminated. But I laid down a bunt. He saw me lay down a bunt. He was there to check me out. He saw me lay down a bunt. And he's like, you could probably try to walk on here at the Division I level, and you might have a chance to make this team. That's all I needed to do. So, boom, that's what happened, and the rest is history.
I was gonna say, but that encapsulates your story. You know, underutilized, maybe undersized, and maybe even going to some of those and seeing all the things that you quote unquote needed to improve upon. Some people would just quit at that point, but it seems like you use that as a motivational drive to kind of take you to that next level. And then you got the opportunity at Wagner. I want to say you pretty much started from day 10. I mean, I don't know, you played a few less games, but it didn't take long before you were able to impact that lineup.
Yeah. So I got on campus and immediately hair on fire. I had something to prove. I remember, you know, the first at bat of the fall, like from the first day B, I set the tone, man. Ground ball to shortstop, dove head first into first base for a base hit. First day B in the fall. Like I hit the ground running, ended up making the team. I was the opening day starter, man. But, you know, right after making the team in the fall is coming to a close. We're home for Thanksgiving. My dad ends up passing away, man. So unexpectedly, I had to go home. I had to miss some time for school. And then I come back. I'm trying to get ready for the season. Obviously, that's a whole bunch of grinding for an 18-year-old kid, but I end up persevering, pushing through, you know, making sure my family's okay, getting through the freshman season. I'm struggling with grades, man. I'm kind of like drowning in all this stuff. I'm trying to produce. I end up hitting like 230, 231, stole a couple bags, but just didn't play lights out. Obviously, from that point forward, it was kind of like, okay, so this is what Division I baseball is about. I got family and stuff dying as I'm trying to make this team. I'm making the team. I'm an underdog, and I'm still persevering to the other side. So I think my freshman year was really, I got my butt kicked, for the lack of the better word, and I ended up kind of stronger coming out on the other side. So I ended up taking that momentum, just rolling right into summer ball out here at Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. Sat the bench. I wasn't a starter. Had to prove myself. Ended up proving it. Overcoming that stuff. Took that momentum into sophomore year. Followed up with a big year, and the rest is kind of history, man. I just try to incrementally get better and just overcome all the adversities that I was getting thrown at.
And it's always fun talking to players and looking at those college numbers to see, the gradual improvement from freshman year to sophomore year. You've been through it now a year. You've learned a ton, I'm sure, how to even how to split up your time so that you can do the academics and the ball and all that stuff like that. And then your third year, both of those sophomore and junior years, I think you hit over 320. I think you hit 340, 350 your junior year. And again, it was all about stolen bases too. I mean, again, not trying to be something you weren't. And 46 stolen bases that year. That's pretty good. I'm assuming you had the green light.
I had the green light, man. So as you're kind of alluding to it, I really didn't showcase too much with the bat. I figured I just need to get in the door. How do I get in the door with these scouts? How do I get in the door with these teams? What are these guys looking for? They're looking for tools. I'm not going to just snap my fingers and magically figure out how to hit 400 with pop and drive the ball out of the yard. I think my junior year, dude, I had, 3 or 4 extra base hits in 50 games or something like that in Division I baseball. That's very not good. So I needed to showcase the defense. I needed to showcase the range, the arm, and especially the stolen bases, man. I had a lights out year in Alaska that summer leading up to my junior year. I set the stolen base record, dude, and really kind of proved myself. So it was really, I wanted to prove that I refined my skills a little bit. I could get the ball out of the infield consistently, right? Ground balls, line drives, a little bit more harder contact, if you will, but still not trying to be the player I'm not, right? Trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And I think that's a big theme today, man. Obviously, with the launch angles and stuff, players can easily slip and fall into trying to fit a mold that they aren't.
Absolutely. And I'm big on, to me, launch angle is just a term for what coaches have always said, which is hit the ball hard, but it's also hit the ball where they aren't, and a hitter, you got to kind of look around the field. Luis Horizon is maybe the best at it and being able to put the ball where he wants to. And everyone has a different gift, and it's never good to try to make everybody into a cookie cutter player. So how about your junior year? Obviously, you're hitting well. You're doing all those other things. You talk about the tools. You got hit for power, speed, range, arm, all of those things. You've got pretty much all of that except for the power. Mm-hmm. And I would think scouts are noticing that. So are you seeing scouts? Are they at your home games or road games, or is that a headache, or are your coaches helping you out with that process?
No, so it was a blessing, man. So, man, I'm playing in the Northeast Conference. And so I'm playing baseball in Staten Island, New York. And so baseball in the Northeast gets a bad rep because you go down to the SEC. I mean, look at the College World Series, right? Look at the regionals, look at the super regionals, dominated by ACC, SEC teams, but especially SEC, right? We're in the College World Series. We got 2 teams. I think it's Texas A&M and Tennessee, just top notch. And so you compare that to Northeast baseball, and Northeast baseball is right? Even if you're not saying that the other bigger schools in the Northeast aren't great, but compared to down south, there is no comparison. So when I started seeing scouts my junior year, it was awesome, and everybody notices it because at Wagner College, people don't show up to the games. So we don't have a home stadium, right? There's not a field on campus. We have to travel. We go play at the Staten Island Yankees field.
Okay.
So there's not students that show up because they have to. It's an inconvenience. They have to either take an Uber or get a taxi. They don't want to do that. And so everybody, man, there were nobody at the games ever. So we would show up starting in the fall of my junior year. I made some top prospect lists in Alaska. And that's kind of where it was okay, show up to, practice games or inter squads. That's what they are in the fall, man. You show up to practice games and you got the whole AL East and, there's 30 guys up there. There's 30 guys up there wearing scout garb. You can see a scout and be like, that guy's a scout. That guy dresses like a scout, and he's a scout. They're not trying to hide, dude.
No.
So there would be, 30 I'm not lying. There'd be some like 30, 40 people there sometimes. And I didn't really fully understand like the magnitude of it. I'd just be like, who else are they here to see? Right? They're here to see me. They're here to see me. And I didn't really fully understand, but looking back now, it's like, if I didn't have good games, those games, who knows what would have happened? You know what I mean? I just had that kind of like confidence. And we ended up having somebody also drafted, Nick Deeney, a year or two after me. I think it was 2015 with the Royals, 14th round, ended up catching in the big leagues, man. So we had some dudes there. And now there's some guys that are playing, pro ball after I had gotten drafted. So I knew that they were there for me,
Yeah. No, and that's just it. But it's also important, I think, to remember that even if you're not, quote unquote, the guy that they're there to see, I've heard multiple stories from Twin scouts where they were on their way to go to, say, UCLA or Stanford or Florida State or whatever, and they decided to stop by a junior college game on the way there, and they see some guy throw, and they're like, we're not going to watch this guy again. We want no one to know we're interested because we're going to get him in the 15th round.
For sure.
There's many great stories like that, and to be a part of it is huge. So
yeah, they'll find you. You. I think my sophomore year, there was a pitcher drafted in the first round out of the Northeast Conference from Monmouth. His name was Pat Light. It was like the supplemental first round. I forget who he got drafted by. I think he pitched
Red Sox
with Boston. Yes. And so I think he threw a no-hitter against us, man. We got embarrassed against that guy. He was throwing buzz. But I had a couple line drives. I think that might have put me on the map. You know what I mean? First, before getting to Alaska, they were there to see somebody else, man. So if you're good enough, dude, they'll find you.
And I think Pat Light played for the Twins for about as long as you did, which is the final month of September. So great guy, and he's got a podcast too, I believe.
Does he? Okay,
I think so. Okay, so how about draft day? I'm assuming. I don't know. I always tell people I still don't understand why in the 1993 draft the Mariners took Alex Rodriguez instead of me. But, looking back, I probably wasn't the day one guy. I mean, I wasn't a free guy either. Were you thinking day one, day two, or were you pretty unsure?
I was hoping for day two. I didn't, of course, dude. I'm not thinking I'm a first rounder, but like I had a Reds workout. A month or so prior to the draft, and I absolutely had a blowout workout. Ran a 6.2 in the 60. Was throwing BBs from the outfield. Was hitting well. Had a good like inter squad practice game in front of these scouts. So I'm thinking like, dude, the national cross checker, all the big name front office dudes are here. I just showed out. I ran a 6.26 in the 60 in front of their big name dudes. Like there's no way I'm not going in the top 10, right? And then it doesn't happen, and then you're upset. Like I was upset. And then of course I'm watching on day three, but what can I do? So obviously I'm a 21-year-old dude that's on top of the world, regardless of where I go, regardless of where I get drafted. So it ended up being on the third day. Didn't have to wait too long. It was great to celebrate, like with my mom and my brother who were there, and yeah, dude, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, were you sitting around or were you doing something together? Were you getting phone calls, whether it be from scouts or friends and family leading up to that pick? And then when you were picked, was the phone blowing up a little bit?
Yeah. So leading up to it, they do something on TV on MLB Network. This was back when I was drafted. So I think there were 40 rounds the year that I was drafted in 2013. So the first day is the first round. The second day is round 2 through 10. And then the third day is 11 through 40. And so the first days are on TV on MLB Network. They do something nice. They have the draft tracker. You can track it. And then the third day, like, it's nothing. They don't have anything. And it's like, I had some like audio thing tracking the draft up on my computer. I think up on the TV, so I heard it, there's no video or anything. It's just like, we're listening to it. I had gotten a call from the Mariners asking if I would agree to these terms. Would I be cool with this if they take me at this spot? I'm like, dude, yeah, what? Of course. And so then like they called me, they said, congrats. This was after I heard my name called. So they told me like, hey, we're going to take you with this pick. Make sure you're listening or watching, right? So I'm in the basement with my mom and my brother. when it happens, man, obviously it's insane. We get we have a little champagne and stuff, and then they call me. We kind of figure it out, and then my phone starts blowing up. I had no idea I had so many friends, right? But you get drafted, everybody's your friend, man, and so like it was cool, dude. It was really cool. It was a cool experience.
I want to ask this because I hear it all the time, but I kind of want to lump together your 6 or so years in the Mariners organization. Again, moving up a level at a time, not being the high bonus guy, working your way through, and then as long as they keep giving you a uniform and you contribute, you keep moving up, and that you got to AAA with the Mariners. At what point did you stop hearing people say, "So when are you going to go pro?" I always think that's the funniest thing. Nobody seems to. A lot of people don't understand that the minor league life is grueling. It's hard work, and the pay isn't great. I know it's improved in recent years, but it's not good. Just in general, I hate to do that to you and lump it all together, but how was the I guess the pre-minor league free agency years for you?
Dude, they were a bunch of up and downs, dude. So, man, a bunch of up and downs. So kind of how it worked, like you said, I hit every single level. I stalled a little bit at AA, stalled a little bit in AAA, had to figure that out. And man, it was just about tiny improvements each year. Yeah, that's always something. Like you're walking around in minor league spring training. Hey man, when are you gonna make it to the pros? You know what I mean? Like, when are you gonna make it to the pros? Or they'd be like, hey, number 14, come up to you. They're like, hey, what's your name? What's your name? You don't have your number on the back of your jersey in spring training. Like, hey, number 14, what's your name? Like Ian Miller. They're looking through their cards. You're like, okay, have a nice day. Like, they don't, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it's like, dude. That's what it's like. And so, yeah, it's a grind, man. Obviously, the money now, you can be okay now. So in 2019, I'm grinding incrementally up through these levels, and I get to AAA again. The year that I get to the big leagues, I'm 27 years old, clearing after taxes $950 every 2 weeks, living in Tacoma, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle. So everything is ridiculously expensive.
Right.
And my wife is living with me. So we're living in like, a $2,500 apartment per month, because that's like what's available out there in the Tacoma area if you don't want to, be in a sketchy area. And I'm clearing 950 beans every 2 weeks, dude. Like, that was what the minor leagues was like for me. And I'm 27 years old, and I'm having to try to produce. Yeah. So, like, my mom bailed me out in the minor leagues for sure. She financed my dream, dude. So, yeah, it was a grind. You get to the big leagues, your whole life changes. Everything changes. Even if you're up for one day and you go back down, you have to make X amount of money. That was great. Minor league free agency was probably where I made the most of my money for 2 years. It made it all worth it, dude. And kind of got me out of the hole, let me start planning sort of for what's next. And dude, it was all worth it, man. But yeah, whole bunch of highs and lows, dude. Couldn't lose sight of the dream.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have that kind of support from whether it's a family or whatever to be able to stick with it. I've talked to a lot of guys that simply for economic reasons didn't. So you mentioned your mom, your brother, obviously your dad previously. Talk a little bit about that support group that kind of has helped you get to this point, even after your career now here, but to be the person that's not going to give up when things get tough. I read your newsletter, and we'll have all the information. It's all on the bottom. Be sure to check it all out. But you do a weekly newsletter. One of the recent ones was about the college portal.
Yeah.
And the idea of, if you're going to a place and they've committed to you and all this, it feels weird kind of leaving them. And then stories both directions. But, tell me about the people in your life who have kind of made that, ingrained those types of lessons and those types of characteristics in yourself.
Yeah. So obviously just coming from kind of the mom being the whole support system, making sure everything's running and operating smoothly. Obviously, my dad passes away. She's a single mother. She's got to take on a whole bunch of burdens. So seeing the stuff that she was able to overcome and just ride through and roll through and end up on the other side okay, like, dude, I'm trying to hit 300 in baseball, right? We're not talking about people dying, dude, you know? So it's the stuff that I'm trying to do is kind of, you know, if I can look at my mom being able to persevere through some shit, sorry for cursing, like trying to hit 300, I should be able to do it, man. So like my support system, man, I was always able to go chase my dream. Same now with my wife. Like I'm able to go pursue my dream. I had this awesome support system around me. My mom was awesome there, dude. Still is. My brother's 3 years younger than me. He's a Wall Street guy. He's absolutely brilliant. And so like, yeah, I have an awesome support system. My wife is obviously fantastic now as we've transitioned jobs from baseball to the wealth management industry and then into, starting my own business and the podcast stuff. But dude, the support system has been instrumental in me overcoming my adversity or any type of speed bumps that are present or that pop up in my life, dude. You talk about the transfer portal. So what I wanted to shed light on with the newsletter, by the way, the 9-hole newsletter, thank you for reading it, brother. It means a lot. I put a lot of time and effort into that. And it's like, I put a lot of thought into it, dude. So that means a lot that you read that, dude. That really does mean a lot. Thank you. And so I was talking about the newsletter where I'm looking at the College World Series, the regionals or the super regionals. Right. And it's like, okay, this guy's a senior. He's on his 4th college in 4 years.
Right.
What does that say to a scout? What are we doing, dude? I understand everything's not going to be perfect for you. And dude, it might not be the best situation for you. So like, hey, look, if there's a whole bunch of BS, okay, you need to transfer out. That's fine, bro. But 4 colleges in 4 years, you're tap dancing around, playing musical chairs with colleges and Division I spots. Man, things were not insanely great for me over in the Northeast Conference where I had to fundraise for my Nike gear at Wagner, right? But I'm not going to like tap dance away and sprint away somewhere else and transfer away from my problems. Like I'm going to use that as like, hey, I got a chip on my shoulder now. Because those guys at Seton Hall or Rutgers or Penn State, like they get free stuff. They get gloves and stuff, dude. They get cleats. I used to have to run with holes in my cleats, in my softball cleats. At 3N2, I used softball cleats my sophomore year. What? I had a standout year in softball cleats my sophomore year that I had to pay for and fundraise for, right? That's adversity, man. I'm not running away from that. I'm coming out on the other side of that, just bigger and badder. That's how I looked at it, dude. So that portal stuff got me fired up. The portal was open for 2 days, and we got 4,000 college baseball players saying, yo, the grass got to be greener somewhere else. I didn't hit 300 this year. We'll get better, dude. What? Come on, man. So running from adversity is just something that I'm passionate about, Yeah.
And I think there are legitimate cases where you 100% committed to a coach and that coach gets fired. I mean, we could do a whole topic on that, but I do want to get to your current business and such. But I mean, we got to talk about you get traded to the Twins, and it wasn't very long. And then I knew when it happened, looking at your player profile, you were not only going to get a September call-up, you were going to probably make the playoff roster because you did provide that roster, that Bomba Squad roster, with something that it didn't have.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, that can matter. I mean, I don't know if in your situation it necessarily did. You have to have the right situations come up. But, I mean, just talk me through that, getting traded, which I think is always an interesting topic. It's like one team you could think is like giving up on you, but they're not because they're able to get something in return. And that other team wants you because you can fill a role on their roster. So that's a whole thing in itself. But then to meet all the new guys and to very quickly get that call up, I mean, there's so much happening there. How are you handling all of that?
Man, I definitely wasn't necessarily conscious of it when I was in the moment. So I was able to kind of slow stuff down as I got on the field, if that makes sense. So your head's spinning, you get traded over to, the AAA team. I'm in Rochester for, I think it's August. I got traded over like August 10th or 11th. And then I spent about 20 days in Rochester getting acclimated with those coaches, getting, the GM, assistant GM, I think it was Levine. Somebody else. I forget his name, and it's embarrassing because I should know this. He called me up. Who's the GM of the Twins?
Thad Levine's the GM, but
who's the other guy?
That
guy, Falvey. Dude, I gave him a hug when he called me up. Gave him a huge hug when he called me up. That's embarrassing. I should have known his name. That's super embarrassing, but awesome dude. So yeah, it was crazy when I got over there. I spent 20 days with Rochester. When they called me up, it was very transactional, just because there wasn't a whole lot of personality that was built in the relationship being over there for 20 days. So it's like, hey, were you ever called up before? I was like, no. And the manager, it was Skins at the time, he was like, okay, well, you're going up. Shook my hand. That's it. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening, right? Get up to the big leagues. And dude, everybody kind of just made me feel comfortable. I spent a whole lot of time with Nelson Cruz over at the Mariners, man. So that was kind of like my in. So Nelson knew me, gave me a big hug when I was there, like on the bus before I even got there. He's like, "What's up, bro? It's good to see you. Finally, you're up here." So, dude, one of the best guys ever. And just those connections like that, man, they were awesome. So they made the whole transition a little bit easier, man. Being able to like lean on friendly faces.
I meant to look all this stuff up, but your debut, what was your debut?
Oh, so I was in Fenway. I was at Boston, dude. And they brought me into the outfield, and it was like a close game. And there was, dude, I just debuted. I caught like a fly ball that I almost missed. I was nervous, overran it. And so I was on deck, and there was a lefty throwing 100. A lefty throwing 100. So left on left. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like shaking in the on deck circle. You know, my mom and my wife are in the stands watching. We're in Fenway. And these dudes are heckling me because you can see up on the Jumbotron, wherever it is. I'm trying to imagine, but I forget. You see up there, like on deck, is Ian Miller with a 0.000 batting average. So the Red Sox fans were laying into me. So this is, I think it was like September 4th. So I'm up for like 3 days, dude. They're like, "You stink, dude. You don't have a batting average. You stink. You're terrible. You're terrible." And I'm trying to be calm, like breathe and stuff. You know, I'm like, I'm about to go up for my first AB. And then I guess somebody looked me up in the front row, and they're like, "Hey, this guy's making his debut." And then they were all like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." And then they're like cheering for me. They're like, "Let's go." And then like it's my turn to get up at bat. I'm like, oh God, I'm about to go face this guy throwing like 100 miles an hour from the left. And Rocco was like, "Hey, pinch hit." And like they brought somebody else in, a righty, and it ended up being the right move because we ended up winning. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. I was walking off, and I told Rocco, I was like, he didn't want a piece of me anyway. And he just looked at me and he just started laughing. Like, he knew I was shivering in my boots, man. So that was my experience, dude. It was awesome. Something I'll never forget, bro. Big time.
I remember, I don't know if you know Tyler Wells, pitches for the Orioles. Big, tall righty. He was with the Twins for a long time. He made his debut out of the Orioles bullpen in Boston, and they were giving him a hard time the whole time before the game. But he talked about running into the bullpen, or from the bullpen to the mound. He said he didn't feel his legs the entire time. Dude, I feel like if I were a infielder or something in the big league debut, I wouldn't be able to catch a pop up because I'd forget to put my hand up or something. What a moment. How about your first hit?
My first knock, dude. So it was off Zimmerman with Detroit. So it was off
Jordan Zimmerman?
Yeah. Dude, I got my first start that day. And so I was like 0 for 10. I'm getting pinch hits on 10-0 ball games and stuff. I'm not there to hit, dude. So I'm not expecting necessarily to get chances at the plate, dude. I'm saying we, because I was a part of the team. Yeah, we are in the hunt for a playoff race, right? They ended up clinching, and that's where I got the starts. That's where it's like, okay, hey, we clinched, going to be in playoffs, get the wild card. Okay, we can rest our usual guys. So Ian, you get a couple of ABs, dude. When I started, that's where I started getting my knocks, man. I started like playing, made a couple cool plays out in the outfield, had an assist, dude. Man, when I was starting, it's different than when you come in off the bench, man. When you start and you can prepare the way that a starter prepares, like you got to earn that in the big leagues, bro. Like, they don't just hand that out to everybody. But like when you do have the chance to get your mind right as a starter, I think you got a chance that way, But those spots are so valuable, dude. So. I got my first knock, got it out of the way. Man, it was just an incredible experience, bro. I could go on forever about it.
I bet. And of course, the day after clinching lineup is always a lot of fun. I know you were in that. I remember Lamont Wade played first base, and he hadn't played first base since I think his freshman year at Maryland.
So that's when I got my first hit.
Okay.
So I think, we were in Detroit, and that's when I got the start the next day, and I got the hit. Everybody was, everybody's hurting the next day a little bit. We ended up winning, dude. We ended up winning. We won well. We beat them. But yeah, there were some people that were hurting, man. There were some people that were wearing sunglasses throughout the whole day and just trying to take some ibuprofen and stuff.
Well, it goes back to my theory, and I'm sure it's not the only one, that backups in the big leagues are incredibly good baseball players.
And it is so hard. Oh my God, coming off the bench is so hard. Yeah. It is so incredibly hard. And like anything in the big leagues is hard, man. But like being a bench player, dude, I got an insane amount of respect for those guys.
Absolutely. And it just bugs me when, you hear a fan or somebody say that this guy's terrible or this guy's awful. And it's like, you know what? If he were to play on your local amateur team, he'd be pretty good. So settle down.
Agreed with that.
All right. So you did get into a game with the Cubs in 2021. And then I think you spent part of 2022 maybe in Mexico. What was your transition like from ball player to post-playing career? And as you answer that, I want to go back to your education. And you talked about, your wealth finance advisory type of things. You were prepared for it academically as well. I mean, not only were you fighting for trying to get to the big leagues and get a chance at different levels, but you were taking care of the what if, the plan B too. So,
for sure, man.
So what was your transition like from player to post-playing career?
So 2020 was when I got a chance up with the Cubs during that COVID year. So I had spent a couple days up there, only got a chance to get in one game. 2021, I was with the Iowa Cubs. And so it was around that time going into 2021 during that off season when COVID was happening and it affected the season, was where like, hey, dude, there's a whole bunch of uncertainty around the game. A virus, I don't know why my voice just cracked. A virus can shut down a season, right? It can shut down a world, dude. Like everything was shut down. So like my career, dude, I am, this isn't certain. So like I need to kind of get my ducks in a row a little bit. Ended up going back to school that off season going into 2021. So I took a couple online courses, knocked those out, got A's in them, man. It was crazy. So I'm like, dude, I can do this. So I was majoring in economics. Like I said, my brother's a Wall Street guy, so I love that stuff. I love investments. I love investing, the stock market, all that good stuff. And so, yeah, that's the website. Put a lot of effort in there. But dude, now I'm getting so transitioned 2021, go in there, didn't have a great year. So it's around that time where it was like, hey, I need to start thinking about what's next. And so I was watching TV one day, and dude, I know nothing about politics. And I still don't. But I was watching Fox Business one day because of Stuart Varney. He is a British man with a great accent. Again, I know nothing about politics, but I'm watching Fox Business because of Stu Varney. He's got this voice. It's like ASMR. It's like pleasing. It's like it's a beautiful older gentleman voice, dude. It sounds so creepy. I'm sorry, but so I'm watching it, and I see this guy, and he's wearing like a flashy suit, and he's commanding the room. I like the way he talks. I like the way he's acting. People are respecting this guy. So I look him up and I reach out to him, and I said, hey, I don't know anything about politics. I know nothing about wealth management other than an economic background. I'd love to be like you. And then he offered me a job. After 2021, the season with the Iowa Cubs, I had an idea that was probably going to be my last season, just because like I was losing it in here a little bit. So like my downtime went from watching video, getting scouting reports on who's pitching tonight, watching, swings from like Trout and, Aaron Judge and stuff, and trying to like be all in the know of baseball. My time was then like I'm reading up on, investment journals, reading about stocks, just that's the stuff that's interesting me, dude. So like I'd be up when the market opened, listening to certain like podcasts, just trying to learn, like that's the stuff that was interesting to me in 2021, dude. So I had an idea that, hey, I'm losing it in here, but I'm also like making some pretty good money that ended up setting me up for moving forward. I was able to kind of leverage all that. And so yeah, I went to Mexico as soon as 2021 was done to go make some more money, and to try to just squeeze everything I could out of baseball. And then as soon as I was done, dude, I went straight from Iowa Cubs to the off season, took about a month off, had my wedding, hit the went from my honeymoon and then went straight to Mexico. Dude, played there for 2 months, made the playoffs. We ended up losing, and then I knew that was the last time that I would probably grace a baseball field. So came home, moved my family out to Cleveland, which is where I'm at right now. Bought a place, dude, and then spent a year and a half wealth management industry. Got some cool, letters on the end of my name. Got some credentials, CRPC designation. So I like retirement, investment strategies, dude. I like, tax law, I guess a little bit, dude. And so I ended up taking the knowledge that I learned from the wealth management industry and, leveraging the money that I made in baseball. And I tried to build my own business. And I had the idea of a business. I parted ways with my wealth management job. It was fantastic. I learned so much in a year and a half, but I wanted to build my dream as opposed to building out somebody else's dream. So it's like everybody's selling something, everybody's building something. If you're not building your dream, you're building somebody else's dream, dude. Like there's no other way to put that. So it's like, man, I'm 31 years old, 32 years old. And like, I have a kid now, got a 1-year-old daughter. I got to go all in. I can't look back. There's no way. I was able to persevere from being a walk-on to making it to the major leagues. That's peanuts, man. Like I could use that. I'm going to leverage that. And so I wanted to start a business. And so I started a consulting business where I can go one-on-one coaching with certain kids, right? Everybody's in the 9-hole, dude. The majority of players are in the 9-hole. They're not first rounders. They're not 6'10", throwing 100 with full rides to Clemson, dude. And so those are the kids that I speak to at the 9-hole. Over 12 million views since May 6th. It's fantastic. I started this business. I started the podcast to kind of supplement it as a way to garner attention, gain attention, and then direct them to my website here. Like, hey, this is all the free content I have on the 9-hole podcast. If you want to learn more, about what worked for me, I can help you out, right? Boom. Dude, the podcast is taking off. The podcast is absolutely taking off, man. And so that's where, a lot of my attention is spent. That's the majority of the days. So I have the podcast, which brings about a whole bunch of opportunities with brands, with baseball companies, with other players. And so I'm doing all of that behind the scenes. And I'm also parlaying that with my consulting and coaching, my speaking. Man, I'm just trying to lead and inspire and show kids that are in the 9-hole, like I was, man, from little league to the big leagues, from the classroom to the business world. Like, dude, you can literally do anything you want, regardless if you're leading off or you're in the 9-hole, man. I did it. This is how I did it. I'd like to show you how you can do it, man. So that's what I'm doing. Aside from the 9-hole podcast, man, it's fantastic. I love it, dude. The business world. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it, man. It's cutthroat, and that's where I thrive, man. So everything that I've accomplished in the baseball world was just kind of like a stepping stone to where I'm at today.
So, I mean, you even think about it. Yeah, there's like, if you're talking to high school kids, a lot of their number 3 hitters in high school will be 9 hitters in college, and I'm thinking that the types of information, the types of knowledge, the stories that you can share, the characteristics that you can help them build, that it doesn't have to just be for the guys that are hitting 9. I mean, if you're a high school player hitting 3rd or 2nd or leadoff, there's stuff here for you as well. So I thought if we could spend a few minutes on this website, and if again on the bottom of the screen you'll be able to see links to your main page, which is is Relimni a word, or do we just say that it's your name backwards? Or how do
it's my name backwards. It's Ian Miller backwards. I say Relimni. So that's okay. My usernames for everything. Those are my passwords for everything. Don't steal it. That's like my gamer tags on PlayStation, dude. I use my name backwards for everything. I'm not gonna forget that.
That's awesome. So I mean, again, you're able to go to this page and you can get to the 9-hole podcast from here. You're also on YouTube with the 9-hole podcast. You mentioned the services, which is one-on-one sessions or speaking engagements, and you can contact you there. So I encourage anyone that's listening, if you got a kid, you got a college kid, high school kid, at least check out the site. Let's say that much.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, and I'm sure there's coaches out there too. Do you do things like maybe
I go talk to teams, man. That's that and kind of like individual consulting. So spending time one-on-one with players from middle school all the way to, I have a sophomore in college, Division I sophomore in college, who is obviously in summer ball right now. So I'm kind of consulting from that age range. That's kind of my audience, man. That's where I have the most, experience. I feel expertise, I guess. So it's like, man, we'll do anything from, do you have a plan? Do you have an approach? How do you get out of your slump? What are your long-term goals? What are your goals like 6 months from now? I try to help them build out a roadmap to hit those goals, both academically, athletically, off the field. Man, I'm trying to be kind of like a guiding light for them. If they have any type of problems at home or, off the field stuff, I'm not a therapist, man, but I'm here to lend an ear. I've been through a whole bunch of stuff myself. And so I'm just trying to connect, man. I'm trying to lead. I'm trying to motivate, trying to inspire, man, empower the next generation. That's what it's all about.
And I mentioned that here too. You've got your Instagram page, you've got a Twitter or X page, TikTok.
So that's old. So that's all old. So that is old. But we're almost at 7,000 Instagram followers. It's crazy. We're well over 3,000 YouTube followers. TikTok's popping off too, man. It's just like, I pay somebody to touch my website. I don't know what I'm doing with the website, so I outsource it. I gotta get those numbers updated for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's make sure to do that. You got some guests that you had. Talk a little bit about the 9-Hole podcast. Now I know that's a big part of it. But you've talked not only to some 9-hole hitters, but obviously here you've got some others that have had some pretty good careers as well.
No kidding.
Just talk a little bit. How do you get your guests? Obviously, you've met a lot of people in the game.
Yeah, so I reach out to all of them, man. It's all me. Like I'm the one that outreaches. I do all the marketing material. I do all the social media. I do all the constructing, the operations, the advertising. It's kind of a one-man band. My wife is helping me, but regarding going out and getting my guests, I mean, they're all kind of through connections that I've made. Or I've garnered over my decade in baseball, man. So, yeah, I had gotten introduced to Randy Johnson, trying to get Randy Johnson on pretty early. Like, he was one of my first guests. Had briefly met him, but trying to get him on, I was a little nervous, man. Brian Holman was fantastic. He actually introduced me to Randy Johnson. David Esker was actually a walk-on in college. The Stanford head coach. We just had Jason Kipnis on, man, and obviously, like, he was a stud, but he's got 9-hole tendencies, right? He wasn't a flashy guy. He wasn't a dude that ran a 6'2" or hit 40 home runs and was 6'8", right? He's a dude that was just the steady Eddie, played the game hard the right way. So I try to have people come on and just relate their story, their career. Trevor Hoffman was on. He's another Hall of Famer, dude, but he got drafted as a shortstop in the 11th round. Right. So like that's a story right there. I had to have him come on and tell it. Like, You might be a shortstop at UC Riverside. Who knows? You could be a Hall of Fame closer. Anything's possible. You know what I mean? So that's what just kind of the whole entirety of the podcast is. The whole entirety of the 9-Hole brand, right? I got the newsletter where I can write to you and I can go more in depth and more personal, and provide deeper information. Got the services with the website, man. I'm just trying to give everything I can that I've experienced and just try to help the next generation.
Well, and you can definitely feel your motivation and energy that I would think would be, a little opposite than the ASMR of financial wealth.
Thanks, man.
This is the baseball fan's dream. But a couple more things, and then we'll let you go here. The big thing is the social media. And were you, as a player, into the social media thing, or is this kind of all new to you?
Dude. So this has been something that I really, really, really needed to get out of my shell with. So when I was playing, dude, I did not post. I was very private. I am still extremely private. So I don't want my social life out there, right? I'm not taking selfies, dude. I don't post selfies. I post baseball pictures. I don't post pictures of my family. Like, I'm just very private.
Yeah.
And then now, in order for me to service my audience and service the next generation of student athletes, I need to be on camera. I need to be comfortable talking. So that was definitely something that I needed to get used to and I needed to kind of overcome. It's like, dude, I'm going to post a selfie on a green screen of me talking. Like that's a big step because there's no curtains. You pull back the curtains and it's like, dude, the audience can comment and be like, yo, this is terrible. Or like, you were stupid or just something like that. And there's no hiding it or denying it. I'm like, hey, this is like, I don't care. I really don't care. I got this knowledge. I feel like that the next generation can seriously benefit from that has worked for me and has gotten me literally from the bottom to the top. And now it's about me being vocal about it. Now it's about me putting myself out there. And so the whole social media aspect of it, dude, it was tough. It was really tough for me to overcome it. And now I'm wearing shirts with the 9-hole brand on it, dude. Like that stuff is happening quick. It's cool. Like I said, 12 million plus views since May 6th on the short form content. So there's a market for it. It seems like the stuff that I'm talking about and putting out is resonating. And there I am talking about stolen bases, dude. Like
No reason why you shouldn't be stealing.
Yeah, there's no reason why kids up until they get to pro ball, they shouldn't be stealing 15 to 20 bases, dude. Get a bigger lead, get a better jump. You're focusing on the wrong stuff. You don't have to be a fast runner to steal bases. That's also something that I'm extremely passionate about. Just go. Don't be afraid to get thrown out. Just go. And it kind of resonates with everything that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, and that's how you learn is by getting caught.
For sure, man.
You learn more from your bad than from your good. Last night, Royce Lewis had his 8th home run of the short season that he's played. He also had an error in the 9th inning that ultimately, or 10th inning that ultimately, I guess there's lots that goes into a game, but that was the key play in the inning that caused the loss. I bet he's going to learn more from that than from the home run.
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of failure. You have to be able to know where the boundary is, and you can only find out what you're capable of if you test the boundaries, man. So that's what like the failure and the adversity teaches you, man. If I would have crumpled into a raisin and not overcame the BS that I had to go through my freshman year, no chance am I getting drafted. No chance am I making it to the big leagues, man. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to speak that to the masses.
Yep. In fact, the stolen base thing was your newsletter article this weekend. The previous one was the portal. And I know I've read maybe one or two before that as well. So it's not just, some of it's mechanical, some of it's confidence.
Yeah.
I was excited to do this just because I watch your interviews. I read your newsletter. I see what you're trying to do for the next generation of ball player. And to me, that's all fantastic. And I want to support that. And congratulate you on this and just your willingness to kind of just go for it. I assume you must have your wife and your daughter, even if she's just one, their support as well. But has being a dad changed life a little bit?
Yeah, very much so, man. Very much so. I've learned the importance of extremely early mornings in order to get your serious work done before everybody's up. Man, it's been fantastic. It's been extremely rewarding. I'm grateful for just everything that we got, dude. And man, like you talked about with the adversity and the mindset and stuff, like you could be kind of up against all of the odds and obstacles. But like if you just, even if you trick yourself into kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, it just makes the days go by a little bit faster, a little bit better. You know what I mean? And man, I'm grateful for all of it. So yeah, the support system, dude, is the common theme, like in all of this, the whole journey. So I'm fortunate.
All right. Well, I do want to say thank you for doing this. Went a little bit longer, of course, but I tend to do that on all of mine. So appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. And I hopefully we can even do a follow-up at some point.
I'd love it.
How things are going.
Please.
I know you've talked about what's next is a lot more maybe short form, the TikToks, the reels, things like that. I'll give you the last word. Any last comments or ideas, or is there a best place to find out what Ian Miller is up to and what's out there?
I would say that the 9-Hole podcast is definitely most active on Instagram, right? So go check out the 9-Hole podcast on Instagram, and that's probably where you're going to get the most value, the most bang for your buck, even though everything is obviously just free and there for you, man. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, everybody that's sharing the stuff. Yeah, check it out. The 9-Hole Podcast on Instagram, relamni, my name backwards.com. Hit me up, reach out, man. If you're dealing with anything, you want to maximize your potential, some things are not going your way, you just want to maximize every opportunity you got. It's something that I'm extremely fired up about. This is something that I value. I hope the next generation values it. Like, I had to win between the lines, man. And between the lines, we're kind of here too. And so, even though I wasn't the most talented, I was in the 9-hole, man, anything's possible. You gotta go for it.
Absolutely. And again, if you've been watching, you see all of the social media and the website there at the bottom of the screen. So again, thank you, Ian Miller. I really appreciate it. It's been fun kind of remembering the 2019 season as a Twins fan, but getting to understand your story, and it's been fantastic to follow. So best wishes going forward. Best wishes to you and your family. And I don't even know. I normally end these things by saying "Go Twins," but
that's cool.
Go baseball.
Go baseball. Sounds good to me, brother. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks again. Have a great one.
You too.